Oh, there he is.
Recording.
There he is.
Hi, Craig.
What the fuck's going on down there?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another TCG supplemental. You might think, oh, but you already did the really good one where you and Aaron talked to Drew from Wizards of the Coast. Well, Aaron, we did do that, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Well, guess what?
It was an okay show, I guess.
Yeah, it was pretty good, but I mean, the crux of it is talking to someone who's related to the game. So we busted down the door, and once again, hello, Drew from Wizards of the Coast.
Hey guys,
welcome back.
You got me back again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The first time was fantastic. I got to say, I really enjoyed talking with you both. Aaron, Chris, you're wonderful hosts, and I am really happy to be here again and talk to you and to all your fans.
Well, thank you. Hopefully we won't shatter that image now that we've had hands-on with the game and got all kinds of pedantic player questions for you, like why isn't Brainstorm on the Brainstorm card, etc., etc.
Super high expectations, guys. Super high.
Well, we're gonna do just a quick little debrief because when we talked to you last, me and Aaron had mostly just played with starter cards, I believe.
Yep.
So now we've spent too much money on cards, so we've had our hands on it. No worries. That's yeah. Some company called Wizards of the Coast makes them. Hopefully, they got some decent kickback from those sales. But
I hear there's smart people there.
Oh man, me too. This guy John. That's a character. That fellow. He carries himself like a human. We've had our hands on with some cards, and I got to say, and maybe it's because I like limited card pools, and because I find Magic daunting getting back into it in 2018, and then trying to make commander decks. And then people telling you about 25-year-old cards you've never heard of. But deck brewing in Transformers, I've been really enjoying, and a lot of it's coming on the back of, it seems like, and maybe this is by intention, a lot of what I would call staple battle cards, like basic backbone cards that a majority of your generic decks would probably just want, seem to mostly be commons as well. Like Rapid Conversion being like the card I can't actually imagine a deck without Rapid Conversion in it.
Right.
Absolutely intentional. So for the first set we released, we wanted to make sure that even people who had small, new collections had the core tools to, make decks and have some satisfying games. And one of the things you'll notice is a lot of the higher rarity cards are things that are a lot more niche. Whether it's niche in deck building, play this only on a leader, or whether it's niche in terms of a very narrow thing that not all decks would want to do, like Photon Bomb.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants to shoot themselves.
Yeah, like full burn, or the Dinobot and Insecticon cards.
Yep, exactly. So that is really cool that you guys called that out, because it was very much as a way to enable players to get right into great games without having to go dig and dig and dig for 3 copies of a card that was rare.
Yeah, and it's been nice in that it also gives you some. I found anyway when I popped open my first booster box and I just ended up with 3 and 3 of Bug Bomb and Swarm. It felt like, okay, between that and I've got all but Chop Shop of the Insecticons. It feels like I have a clear, super specialized deck I can go for right off the bat. It's really the only frustration I think is when people are going full collection, and Aaron's got his fantastic. The best part, Aaron, I don't mean to call it out again, is when you had gone through your 4th booster box, you still had never seen Hunker Down, I think it was?
Yeah, 4 booster boxes I had gotten a Hunker Down. No, I got, on my second to last pack, I got a Hunker Down.
Right, you got the one Hunker Down. And
that's special rares.
Yeah, and that's like a tank. That's a tank battle card, so it's kind of like this rare battle card you had a lot of trouble finding on the roll of the die, was still for a tribal deck that currently seems like there's only like a handful of ways to even do like full tank focus as opposed to splashing tank.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm really interested as to when this video is published, whether or not what we think is the ideal tank deck will become widespread.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen someone win a tournament that they at a local game store that they posted the deck list. I saw someone win a tournament with it. Well, it's like one card off from what we think is the ideal version of the tank deck. But I don't see the majority of people talking about what we think is the best deck for that.
Yeah, the conversation around the meta in the Facebook group, at least, which is still proven to actually be the one of the biggest concentrations of players, I've noticed again, and I don't mean to. I'm not trying to hit a blowing smoke level here. It's just that one of the other pleasant things I found was early on it appeared that Nemesis Prime might be the backbone of the top level deck in general. A lot of people running Nemesis Optimus or Nemesis Cosmos. But it seems every time someone says that they did well with a Nemesis deck or they post a Nemesis deck list, someone is coming into the comments to specifically say, oh, but I beat a deck almost like that with usually Dinobots or Insecticons.
It's one of the absolute joys from, as someone who's on this side of the table, is watching a new the metagame for a new game evolve and looking as to where our predictions, like the things that we designed in, where our designs come true, where people don't find some of the things that we've designed, although that eventually always happens. And then also where players find things that we didn't think of or combinations that we didn't expect. I mean, there's only so much you can test, and a lot of it is based on math and predictions on our end. But I am very pleased with watching the discussion about the metagame of, Cosmos and Nemesis Prime. That is a strong deck. You're gonna win games with that, but there are foils for it, and I think Insecticons are a particularly good foil because if you can get a little bit lucky with the go wide strategy against Nemesis and Cosmos, you can really pile on in the first couple of turns. And if you take out one of those two characters we call them the go tall decks. Take out one of those two characters, you have a really good shot.
Right.
Yeah.
No, so actually another one of those kind of hard counters ended up being I'd pulled Cosmos and I had Inferno as the other since I didn't have Nemesis. And he was playing his Shockwave Rare Optimus and just kept Shockwave on the, hey, if you discard a card, you take damage. So the whole draw discard engine of Cosmos just got shut down because there was no way I was even cycling around to that to try and get it to trigger. So it was frustrating, Chris.
It is, but that's something that keeps powerful cards in check.
Yeah, I was very hopeful because the first deck I really wanted to build when I pulled out of my first box, I pulled Rare Optimus and Shockwave, and I really like the Chaos Theory and Shadow Play story arcs in the comics that are very much about Optimus and Shockwave amongst others. So I thought I'll make a deck called Shadow Play. It'll be high action for Rare Optimus, but I'll make a ton of those actions involve discard, so that while Optimus is popping extra actions, he's either doing damage himself or Shockwave is just standing in the background causing damage as a result. And I thought that it would be a good hard counter, not even just to Cosmos, but also specifically Nemesis Prime, who feels kind of like, sort of like your Games Workshop games. There's a lot of times where in 40K they'll say the Space Marines are sort of the metric by which you compare most other characters. And I feel like in TCG, or Transformers TCG, when you want to figure out if a deck's really strong, one of the things to think about is how will this do against Nemesis Prime, and how will it do against Insecticons and Dinobots. Like, those seem to be the trinity of, I guess, the metric right now. And so I was really hopeful that it would mess with someone who wants to run through their battle deck, and at least in that one game, it incredibly did. Aaron, I think, wanted to actually kill me.
Maybe.
You had a big smile on your face when I had to play against a Shockwave, and we had two Shockwaves in bot mode, just ruining each other's day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was.
Oh yeah. It was great watching you sit there and crinkle your forehead going, man, this sucks to play against.
Suddenly System Reboot's no good when it hurts me too. The Shockwave mirror match is rough. Like, Shockwave's anathema is himself.
Yeah, Shockwave mirror match is well, it goes fast. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It was for me it was that, and it was I ran a real quick kind of slop together Plains deck. And I did not realize Slipstream would be the backbone of that deck. That passive damage counter on a plane thing, when I started to outnumber the other team, it wrecked their day. Granted, I got very lucky. My opponent was playing. I guess they were spreading their damage. They were less going for the kill and more going, what if I just damage everyone so I can start popping them off one by one? And that meant I had 3 planes. I was able to start offloading damage when I realized how the cards worked.
I don't think your opponent was playing the best strategy against that particular plane configuration, or honestly planes in general, because there's a bunch of them that move counters around. That's kind of their thing.
Yeah,
right.
And moving the counters around like that really, it turned a tide in a way that I wasn't it was like a certain kind of tactile feeling on the game, quite literally, of like, I'm just going to take this counter and put it over there. It was interesting. Like passing damage seems like a really cool mechanic.
I remember when that happened in the design phase, someone was like, "Oh, we can do damage, but what if we just move it?" And we started playing around with that, and it felt really satisfying. And then it ended up coalescing in Decepticon planes.
It's got me actually trying to dissuade people from using dice now as damage counters, because it's having physical damage counters of some kind. It makes the game feel more smooth thanks to mechanics like that. As opposed to like flipping one die down and the other one up. I don't know. It's a very, very specific tactile thing that I kind of liked. But Aaron, unless you got something else, do you want to get into the fresh, juicy stuff? The stuff that's
yeah, we can jump to that.
All right, because we're going to talk a bit about something. When you're hearing this podcast, for context, we're recording this on like November 1st, in case we're talking about TFcon and stuff. Because you're not hearing this until a couple weeks later, roundabouts. More like a couple days later. I know, plans change. You're hearing this closer to when the Metroplex set is out. However, we're kind of looking at it right now, and we're going to talk about it. So hopefully you're listening to this when you're getting ready to go pick it up, or you maybe just picked it up, and you're thinking, I want to hear some commentary on the thing. We're going to get Drew to commentate us through some of these cards. The Metroplex deck is 3 character cards, a Titan card, and a 40-card battle card deck. That deck has 3 new cards, and you get a playset of each, so that's 9 cards out of the 40. And there's some interesting stuff going on here. So the first thing I want to ask, with the Titan mechanic, this is what I've kind of assumed. The Titan is 25 points. The characters under him are an attachment within that 25 points, but those characters have their own point values for if you want to use them in other decks, is the impression I got.
Absolutely correct. So, Metroplex at the beginning of the game, you put those characters under him, their point values don't count towards the 25-point total because they're not in the game, effectively. Sorry.
Okay.
They're not on the battlefield. They don't count towards the 25-point value, and you can only deploy them if you manage to do what Metroplex needs to do, which is to flip them back and then flip them back again to alt mode to pop out a character.
So it's almost like a mechanical version of the opening 2 turns where he can't just blap out 3 more characters. It will take him 2 turns per to get them out. Actually, initial question: does rapid conversion work on Metroplex?
Absolutely. In the same way that rapid conversion, when you use it to convert to alt mode, or anything that converts a character to alt mode outside of your once per turn flip, all of the alt mode abilities that say when you flip to this mode, they work.
Okay, so you can cheat you can cheat the tempo to get the other characters out.
Yeah.
So stack some brainstorms and rapid conversions then. Be mean. All right, and then I also wanted to point out something, because I know this had been theorized on the Facebook group and on the Reddit, and it was so cool to see this true for actually all 3 of them. The Metroplex minions are 4-star characters, which is huge to me, at least for Scamper, because Scamper is a car type, and there are Cliff Jumper, easy example. A 4-star car that you can maybe sacrifice on purpose could do an easy early game buff to Cliff Jumper, and I find that fascinating.
Yeah, so we specifically designed these characters with star values so that you could play them in other decks, and specifically as low star value characters to help create the possibility of some other combinations. Slammer's a tank. The math doesn't quite as work out as it does with Scamper, but that does open up a little bit of play there. Mm-hmm. Especially if you want to add in a non-tank character to a tank deck and use Slammer to get another tank in, but keep the points low.
So that's huge for living weapon Megatron, because tanks right now, there's only a few of them, and it kind of feels like if you want to run a multi-tank setup, living weapon Megatron doesn't entirely fit a lot of wide strategies, because he's coming in with 13 stars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the one other real big thing that made me blink here. Slammer is a one-mode character, it looks like.
So he absolutely is a one-mode character. On the back of him, he's got the regular card back, the same way a battle card does.
I was wondering about that. Okay.
That's cool.
So it was an interesting decision. Slammer isn't really... Slammer is a character in wider Transformers lore, but he's really Metroplex.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Metroplex really an independent consciousness. He doesn't have a personality. He's really a mobile extension of Metroplex. So we had a lot of debates as to how to represent this character. And honestly, we wanted to test out. Like right now, and probably for a long, long time, he's the only one-mode character. But this seemed to be living within the spirit of Slammer toy versions. What do you think of it?
So here's the way I reacted when I saw all of this. I see 3 mechanics that are new to the game getting groundwork here. One of them, maybe not a mechanic, but the 4-star character debuting. Yep. We've also got the deployable character debuting, and we've got the one-mode character debuting. All of those things to me seem like stuff that can apply to a whole bunch of non-Metroplex stuff down the line. That's just my thinking.
I would add in one more new thing there, and that's the super ultimate. Take a look at Metroplex's robot mode.
Oh right, the full flip.
A fairly complex to achieve flip condition that does something really spectacular.
Oh yeah, that seems like it seems kind of like a Planeswalker's ult from Magic the Gathering, except it's not something you really can as easily set up for. So it puts less of a target on Metroplex, I guess, in that you, like with a Planeswalker, you're building counters towards the ult. With Metroplex, it's more, there is the fear that, like, how did my opponent really mathematician this and preload with, with incoming and stuff?
Well, at least with like, looking at the other cards that are exclusive to this, between height advantage giving bold 4 and then each of his minions kind of giving another bold, you could be rolling off 8-10 cards.
Oh yeah.
On just that, let alone any other things. If you give Metroplex a flamethrower or something, be running through a quarter of your deck and have better odds, but that's time to set up.
Yeah, I have gotten the God draw with this deck, which is go second, have your 1 card play be Flamethrower, hit a crit, a white pip, and then just get red, red, white, white, blue, blue on your first turn of the game. That's disgusting.
What's it like to look in the eyes of the person across the table from you when that happens? Like, that seems beautiful.
So, Metroplex is naturally pretty good against 2-bot teams and a little bit weaker against very wide teams who just get to pile on him for a couple of turns before Metroplex can stabilize by getting other characters in play.
Yeah.
And my opponent happened to be Insecticons, and so I basically had stolen from him his first pile-on opportunity by untapping everybody at the end. That's right, because you tap everybody, and so they untap. So your opponent doesn't get that pile-on turn.
Yeah.
Right.
He was just like, oh, come on, man.
It's where you scoop your card, say, I don't like playing with you, you big poopy face, and go on to the next one?
Well, I mean, he beat me because Insecticons they are good against them.
They seem like they could swing back if he's built for bold and built for orange and like just really get some Deadeye focus going on Metroplex.
Right.
Just one last mechanics question about Metroplex, only because it's a new word and I want to clarify this. So Titan, that's not making him unable to equip anything, right? Like you could essentially put flamethrowers etc. on him. They'd be very small, but
yes, he has. So Metroplex is for all purposes a character card who obeys all the rules of character cards. Titan is, for now, there's really only one card that really asks for that, and that's height advantage, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there are other Titans in the Transformers universe. In fact, there's like 12 of them. Mm. So you never know.
I couldn't help but notice the one battle card that didn't say Metroplex but said Titans with a symbol.
Yeah. Right.
Sure does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like they thought ahead or something. It's crazy.
I adore, now that I finally got to see the city mode side of Metroplex, I love how you guys and all your promo material have only been showing the robot mode, because it's like, that seems pretty cool, but like, it's the city mode side that's kind of like, hey, in case you had some hard questions about what's going on here, that's on the back of the JPEG.
I mean, and part of that's intentional.
Yeah.
And part of that is because, the alt modes have when you flip this mode, so you have to do the one flip and then flip again to actually trigger that.
Yeah.
But I will say, from a marketing point of view, it was very awesome to be able to put the giant robot picture on the side that everybody gets to see first. So everybody's like, it's an 8-inch tall robot. And then hold off on some of the nitty gritties until later. Also, fans love to speculate, and we love watching fans speculate.
I'm amazed how much of the speculation came true. I mean, even the 4-star thing coming true, despite that more being couched in the idea that they would add up to 25 with Metroplex. It makes me really happy to see this, because there were some conversations at TFCon of immediately wondering, like, where precisely would this game go next, or what are some of the potential places this game could go next realistically without rewriting its entire bedrock immediately. And it's just fun, subtle things in here being presented. The 4-star character, to me, is huge, because as I was trying to build character teams without a full suite available to me, running into the situation where it's like, I need someone who's this star value, and when it came to 4 stars, it's like, that star value doesn't exist. It makes me hopeful to see other star values. Even I don't know where they would necessarily fit in, but I'm hoping someday we can finally have the 1-star character, I guess, like, walking upgrade card.
So I'm not gonna talk too much about future stuff, but I will say you will see low star characters again. The second booster set has several, and they are exactly for the reason that you just mentioned. They are very, very powerful. They are deceptively powerful, and not so much because they are individually powerful, but because in aggregate they are powerful.
Yeah.
So we are going to continue to play in that space for a little bit, because we do really much like how it does good things for go-wide teams and for offering a variety of, like, if your 2 favorite characters add up to 21 points, well, now you have options, and so on and so forth.
Right. That was the big thing that got me seeing 4 stars, was like that. You don't feel like you're leaving stuff on the table if you've got, I've got 20 points, 21 points.
Yep.
And like, I guess I'm just giving the other player 4 points.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing I looked at for a little bit between all the Insecticons back and forth, because I built an Insecticon deck, and I think I was like leaving 1 or 2, and it's like, well, I mean, everybody else will be, right? And now hearing that, potentially there's that option to like fill in a 5th slot that maybe you'll give it a little bit of juice. Even if it's that, first turn and then it gets just targeted down or something, that still maybe gives relief for other things. It opens up a lot more different ways to expand, and that is what I think will make it super interesting to continue on.
Exactly. There are a lot of 21-point teams and 20-point teams, but particularly the 21-point teams who were really tough to conscience playing in a 25-star environment until Metroplex comes out and gives you the option of running a 4-star character to round it out. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly you're in these interesting spaces where you have a 4-bot team, and you just don't attack with Scamper, right? Like, you just leave him to last, and he's always the pylon.
Yeah, right. And he's also able to carry a full suite of upgrades. Exactly. When I call him a sack engine, it's more like, to me, Scamper's less a participant as a full-on character, but more like, now I have this 4th vector by which to use upgrades that have additional effects. Also he can run in to do 2 or 3 damage plus flips. The reason I focused on Scamper so much is I found car teams, there are so many interesting, cool cars who are also 7 or 8 stars, that a 4-star car is so welcome. Not to brush Red Alert off to the table, but like the I guess the vanilla characters who are above 5 stars are harder to feel good about putting in the team than even with Scamper. On a non-Metroplex team, he's ostensibly a vanilla character because his abilities are so Metroplex focused. but it feels like he's filling in a gap more so than like taking up space. Where I could feel like, oh, if only there was another 6-star with abilities, I'd feel more like I'm putting another cliff jumper in or something.
Yep. And I mean, there are deck building options intentionally built into the 3 different characters. 3 armor is nothing to scoff at. I mean, 3 hit points is not particularly great, but 3 armor is reasonable. And
that's upper end, I think.
Yeah, for 4 points, right? There are a few 4 armor characters, but not many. So 3 armor for 4 points is interesting. 6 gun in his bot mode has 4 attack naturally, and while he gets his butt whipped because he has no defense and 5 hit points, he does get one big swing in. So if you can build a deck where you just leave him in bot mode and consistently protect him, and he piles on, that's interesting. And Scamper is a car and is balanced.
Yeah. And there's so much. The one thing, this slide aside, the one thing that's been killing me with my pulls so far, the one rare I've not pulled a single one of so far is Start Your Engines. So I have all these interesting car ideas, but I keep looking at Start Your Engines and thinking, oh, that would be a great cherry on top of this deck. So I'm working towards that. And what you're also mentioning about their weaknesses, we should note the other 2 Metroplex cards that are not the height advantage card, which is the height advantage tells me Titans. It seems like Titan mechanics. Looking at Metroplex, looking at height advantage, bold. It seems like something that a Titan mechanic character would be way into if it's going to be stuff like try to flip a certain combo of pips. But Protected by Metroplex and Rally the City they seem like fantastic and also very basic protection cards for this kind of team. Like you've got a card so that Metroplex can tank kind of like a stronger, or I guess reverse heroism to ensure Metroplex is taking the damage on his massive HP. And then Rally the City looks to me like the kind of card that says Metroplex is a hub, in that it's like he is providing card advantage. His minions are upping that, but it seems like the Metroplex specific cards are very much, they seem to be very oriented towards defensive play of like, you're creating your dominion, you're building your hand, you're protecting your characters. The game's going to move at your pace, and that pace is probably not going to be ballistic, which a lot of the top decks right now, aside from tanks, they seem to be very ballistic oriented. So this seems like a pretty cool counter as well.
Yeah, and exactly as you said, there is a little bit of a slower pace to the beginning of Metroplex games, unless you were a complete luck sack and just completely.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was flipped the God Hand twice. Oh, I won. All right.
Yeah. But one of the other really interesting things about Metroplex deck is that it kind of changes its playstyle as the game goes on. When you just have Metroplex, or when you just have Metroplex in one character, it's really one playstyle. But then if you do manage to get all of his friends in play, or even 2 of his friends in play, suddenly it becomes a lot about how you can, and then simultaneously you suddenly get a lot more bold on Metroplex.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're in this world where you went from playing a little bit more of a passive control style to the style where you really just want to slam and get that Metroplex ultimate every turn, and then have all your little guys pile on, and just take advantage of that, and then everybody untaps, and then you're in a world where you keep trying to do that while at the same time balancing not letting your opponent knock out the little guys. It plays very, very interesting. I really like to play this.
Well, it seems like also in a lot of what I'm seeing here, it seems like it invites the opponent to feel like, oh, you've got to take out the minions to debuff Metroplex. But then, much like actually the Shadowplay deck I made, I like the idea of a deck where it's like Shockwave is kind of the threat in that deck. However, Optimus Rare is flipping over. If I bold him up, he's flipping over like 6 cards, of which he can probably play at least one of them. So when you create multiple threats in this game, in my limited experience so far, that seems like the most interesting style, where you're making the opponent decide who to go after, and no matter who they go after, it's probably the wrong decision in some way. It's kind of like you're either going at Metroplex and just eating it, and the chance he might do the alt, or you're taking out his support, but then you've also got 35 health Metroplex with 6 attacks just hanging out up there.
Yep.
And it also seems like a lot about this is also balance. He can't just fire out all his dudes unless you get some real lucky brainstorm pulls and rapid. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out. I have one more question, but Aaron, what about you? I want to pop over to you for a sec. Anything else here standing out you meant to highlight?
No, not directly. I mean, I'm the one joke comment I had is how am I supposed to double sleeve the Metroplex?
So that is a question I had. Yes, I mean, how am I supposed to double sleeve the Metroplex card? Is Saran wrap?
Double sleeve, I don't know if I have a great answer to you, but I can. But single sleeve is definitely a possibility, given you can put them in binder size sleeves.
Yeah, one thing I had fun doing at TFcon was in front of people in a public space, double sleeving a character card because I think someone actually got nauseous.
Yeah, I did see someone like, wait, why are you doing that now? And it was just like, no, I have to. I have to. Everything gets double sleeved.
And then you take the double sleeve card, and then I finally got a hold of some of those 3.5x5 hard top loaders. So I put a double sleeve character card into a top loader, and then someone passed out. They were like, "This is too much." This is bouncing off our previous talk. So Metroplex, the character cards, are those some of the art you had commissioned fresh for the game?
Yes, they absolutely are. Scamper, Six Gun, and Slammer are all completely new art, original to the Transformers trading card game, and I think it's the first time. It is the first time that the public has seen new card art from us.
And was this all Marcelo doing this stuff?
These cards were Marcelo, yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Colored by Volta Creation and Hasbro.
Right. Okay. So it's like the packaging art setup in a lot of ways.
Exactly.
Cool. And so I got to ask, when you gave the direction on Six Gun's alt mode, was there like any kind of moment of pause where you're like, Six Gun, he's a gun. So draw a picture of a gun shooting.
There was actually a lot of discussion more at the design end of how we should handle Six Gun. Mm-hmm. And that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But the art direction for Six Gun, once we had that question settled, that was fine. I mean, it's not a difficult direction to give. Turret cannon mounted on his shoulder, pretty cool.
Right.
It's funny that you're asking these questions, and I want to give you guys, and I want to give the public answers about. I'm literally in the middle of commissioning 160 new pieces of art, and there's a better answer to that question, guys. And when we talk, I don't know, sometime in 2019, I will better. Mark will remind me, and I will answer the question about Six Gun and his alt mode better.
No worries. Yeah. Also for context. I don't know if this answer, you don't have to say anything, but I'll say for context, it was like, I think yesterday or today that the Italy news dropped on a few more Siege toys, and Six Gun was amongst them. So this has also just been, this has been a very Six Gun 48 hours for me, and I'm enjoying it because I'm one of the 3 fans of Six Gun before it was cool to be a fan of Six Gun.
I also enjoy. So here's a secret. It's a secret about Drew is I like parts formers. I know a lot of people have just like written me out when they heard that, written me right out of their esteem. But I like parts formers. I think they're very cool, and they sort of, to me, connect my love of building toys and my love of formers in a way that I think is unique and interesting. And so I always enjoyed Gun.
You've got to get Hasbro to hook you up with some of the Weaponizer Deluxes from the next generation's line, is what I'll say.
I would love that Six Gun.
They're doing, now they've got 3 Deluxes whose entire basis is we break apart into weapons. So dear Hasbro, please hook Drew up. We hooked him up with a Cosmos, so it's your turn.
Who did they reveal, guys?
So yeah, the other main question I have is, we know that 9 of the
sorry, you started this. Who were the other 2 that they revealed?
It was Brunt.
That's Triptychon's tank.
That's Triptychon's tank guy, and then Cog,
which is Fort Max's.
Yeah.
Yep. Got it.
All right.
It's a really interesting trio.
Yeah, it's a fascinating trio. It's like they're all parts of City Bots.
Like they're all parts of Titans.
Yeah, all parts of Titans. Interesting. It's interesting.
So we hear notes furiously being scribbled.
So I'm sitting in a room that one wall is entirely a whiteboard. And the other three of the other walls are all glass. So it's like a fishbowl. But the squeaky sounds may or may not be whiteboard.
Noted. Also, if you guys ever want to do alt art cards as prizes or anything, they made up a new alt mode for 6-gun. Oddly enough, he still turns into 6 guns, but then you can plug them together, and he looks kind of like a VTOL thing. So if you ever want to drop the 6-gun prize card for what FN Friday night FNTF, we got you set up.
Yeah.
The one other main technical question I've got: we know that there are 9 cards in the battle deck that Metroplex comes with that are his new cards in play sets, which is so great because it means we can just get deck building with them right away. I know that was a big question that was thankfully answered with the news item about how the release was also bumped up to November 16. Can you give us some more info on the other 31 cards, though? Because that's what I'm curious about.
They're all cards from the Wave 1 booster set. And it is a deck that is specifically tuned to help Metroplex do his thing. So it's got, for example, 3 rapid conversions, 3 inspiring leaderships. It's got some handheld blasters. It's got 3 flamethrowers. It's got data pads to help set up the big turn for Metroplex. I am also super interested as to what other decks people come up with. Like, are there other ways that people want to build a Metroplex deck, and particularly the battle deck, to see if you bring in different directions? I can't wait to see people play with it.
I really want to pull the Brainstorm double rapid conversion play. I love breaking tempo, so rapid conversion is quickly been one of my favorite cards, along with rollout. Like doing a rollout with the Shadowplate duo of Optimus and Shockwave is super fun, and then rapid conversioning Shockwave immediately back to robot mode so that he can get back to doing his thing. Or popping a Brainstorm out of Optimus's action flip and doing some dumb stuff out of there. It's like going outside of the set tempo of the game has been both really fun for me in a kind of chaos level, but also a fun way to introduce a level of I guess more adult depth while operating in the bedrock of the fairly straightforward friendly rules that the game has, which has been one of the fun things about going to places like TFcon and seeing people play their first game and how quickly they can connect with it, and then you turn around and immediately do some kind of ridiculous thing with Rare Optimus and Shockwave. The balance between like the rules are simple and the tricky stuff is written on the cards, it seems like has been universally received pretty well. Looking at other discussion threads,
it has absolutely been received super well. The reception from fans is very positive, and we watch people on board to the game, and it's going exactly as we hoped, where easy to grok game rules leads to a satisfying first experience, which leads to buying some packs and opening them and discovering favorite characters, and then learning about the sort of a lot of the meat and depth in set 1 is deck building. First the easy paths, then those kind of wacko paths like the Shadowplay deck that you're talking about, which is a very cool deck to play. And then you'll see a little bit more of card complexity come out in the second set, the second booster set, and we amp that up. We dial it up a little bit. We add a little bit of more game complexity to cards while we keep the base rules, the same.
Yeah. And one thing I'm really enjoying about the Metroplex stuff is, like I said it before, you're adding what I consider to be kind of like the bedrock for brand new mechanics that could apply, going forward to other characters even. But for the most part, it's not like you're creating brand new rules. Like Metroplex's deployment rule feels kind of like the newest one. But even then, it's kind of like, Slammer being a one-side card, it's literally the card doesn't have a bot mode side. Or 4-star characters it's just a character, but they're 4 stars instead of 5. So it's not like you're creating, say, a mini-con rule. you've just got, what could be occupied, like what a Minicon character could occupy, or what a Soundwaves cassettes could occupy, without creating a brand new mechanic all around it that has a new, rule addendum and etc.
Right. There's creation of building blocks that can then be sort of put together in different combinations to help evoke specific characters, particular abilities in the IP, or toys, particular mechanic or gimmick, and as you said, little building blocks added together in different permutations give us a ton of flexibility without adding a ton of complexity, which I think is the hallmark of elegant game TCG design.
Oh, absolutely. And it also, like I think I mentioned this when we first talked, there's a lot in the rules here that in another game that is based on an existing popular media license, I would have assumed the rules would immediately cut off some of the more open avenues for creativity. Like an easy one is being you can put Autobots with Decepticons. Like things where you would imagine limitation for thematics. One of the ones I was worried about was, is Metroplex even going to be able to use upgrades? And when you confirm that he's basically just a giant character card and gets all the fun interactions that entails, that makes me really hopeful as well. That like thematic limitation seems to not be a hallmark for this game. It feels like thematic stuff is more like in support of the mechanics than figuring out reasons to not do stuff.
Yep. I'll be honest. There's one thing that has surprised me and slightly disappointed me, and that is we wrote this game to be super literal, in that the cards do what they say and the rules do what they say, and people keep people in the community keep asking questions, and you can see this in the FAQ. It's like the top 5 questions are the ones we get all the time, and one of them is, well, can I play Autobots and Decepticons? And similar questions like, well, what happens if I flip a character over after I've put like Matrix of Leadership on Optimus Prime and I convert him back into a truck? Like, does it fall off? And I think I underestimated how much supporting help we need there, because people are used to, as you said, these kind of artificially imposed limitations, and we want people to have freedom to make cool decks and have cool experiences, and yeah, I would just love to get the message out. Take the cards literally.
That was one thing that as we were doing the TFcon room. As there were some people that had gotten, there were 2 dealers there that had full boxes you could buy, and there were people that had gotten them early and cracked them open and were sitting there like deck building or even just looking at stuff. And there were some people that were like, wait a second, you can combine Autobot and Decepticon? Well, why? It's like, well, it's not against the rules. And I think I used your line of like, if you want to do that, and if you and your friend want to have an Autobots versus Decepticons, I mean, you could do it that way, but I don't, that's an outside factor. That's not something that's getting locked in at design. So like, hey, maybe there is a Decepticon that plays better with those 2 Autobots than the, spare Inferno that you have or something like that. And then it seemed like the couple of times that it happened, there was like trying to break like that idea because they already had it locked in their head, and then it was like, oh, yeah, and then they looked back down at their cards and and then like start shuffling things around again.
And I'm 100% coming from those people's perspective of like let me list off some of the things that were pleasant surprises to me. First off, you can mix factions. Another one, I don't know. I've gotten this from other games. I can't give you a specific right off the top of my head. When it became clear to me that Bold and Pierce numerically stack, that was a big moment for me too. Because for some reason, I got it in my head like, well, these have to cancel each other out. It has to be like Bold 4 replaces Bold 3 because that's just what happens. That's how I learned like how valuable Force Field is. When I first saw the Force Field card, when I cracked my booster box, I thought, well, when's someone going to hit you for 5 or more? And then I realized, like, oh, in constructed play, this gets, like, Star Realms crazy of, like, a Dinobot deck is about getting to, like, Bold 18 and, like, flipping half your battle card deck and doing, like, 38 damage.
I loved, on the Facebook group, there was a thread where people were trying to max out the Bold that Grimlock could get.
Yeah.
I was just the numbers kept ticking up as people were figuring out better and better configurations to do it. It was fantastic. But yes, exactly. It's exactly that. And we're going to
did they actually get to the top number that you guys had, or is there like an additional level?
The game designers were crunching on that. I believe they had a number in the past when they were doing playtesting. I'll have to check in with Ken Nagel, the lead designer, to see if the fans got to the max number that we believe to be
the bold ceiling.
For some reason, I just imagine a bunch of like old timey bankers with the big like crank arm calculating machines. Oh no! Oh no! We're gonna have to take out a bold loan.
Gentlemen, my time with you this episode is coming to a close.
No worries. Well, I'll just say it right away. Thanks again for your time. Thanks for sharing, slightly ahead of schedule, the Metroplex stuff with us so we could have this discussion.
Absolutely. I want to plug one thing. Mm-hmm. We are going to be at PAX Tabletop, which is in Philadelphia from November 30th to December 2nd. So by the time this airs, that information will be out there, but I will be there personally, along with Matt Tabak, the rules manager. We are scheduled to appear. No promises. We are scheduled to appear. There will be constructed events. The listings will be going up a few days from now when we're recording this. But by the time you post this live, those listings will be up, and I hope to see folks there.
All right.
And I will bring my tank deck.
Well, my one thing I want to say is when you guys are able to, when the event horizon has cleared and we're into the bright future that it is going to be, I also hope to see you guys maybe at a fan expo over here in Toronto, because I want to subject you all to shadow play. I'm not sure if I can make it to PAX Tabletop, but I need to subject you guys to shadow play. So we got to figure that out.
I would love to see you guys at a convention. And I'm sorry I couldn't.
That's okay. We got the John experience, and that was still something. I still kind of got a bit of the John experience on me. I haven't done my laundry yet since I got back from the convention, but Drew, thanks for your time. Aaron, any last words you want to throw in?
No, I'm excited to. I'll probably be teaching this to a lot of people during Extra Life here, but that'll be after this goes, or will have already happened by the time this goes up.
That is fantastic. I super commend you for participating in Extra Life. That is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, thank you. I'm bald and was bald at TFcon because of it, so I won.
Literally didn't recognize Aaron when he stood right in front of me. I thought he was someone else. I didn't know his
multiple
hair mattered
times.
That much to me. But yeah, multiple times. I'm going to start getting the word out. If folks in Toronto want to learn some of this game, I am now, due to my own financial irresponsibility, fully equipped to teach people how this game works. I've been having a lot of fun doing multi-deck builds out of my collection, and thank you, Drew, for making such a fun deck brewing experience. I am astonished how good... I mean, this is weird to yell at you because you worked on the game since before we knew it existed, but
yeah,
this is such a solid engine, and Aaron mentioned it to John. The last time we had a Transformers card game, it was less of a game and more of a set of rules built around how do we sell people pop-out paper models of Transformers that kind of look like stick people.
So that was before my time, and I can't really speak to it, but I can tell you that we spent an enormous amount of time on the game rules engine for Transformers. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the credits, there's an enormous list of people who have participated in the design, and a ton of that were people who were working on various versions of the games rules engine. I think I mentioned this. We went through like 7 or 8 different versions. Mark Rosewater put up a Drive to Work podcast a little while ago where he talks about his experience contributing to the games rules engine with Scott Van Essen, who's another member of the team, Lucas Leshinger. There were so many of us, and I think it really shows. And I thank you so much for recognizing the amount of work that went into making this core rules something that we could build upon.
Oh, it's amazing. Like we got to come to a close here. I just got to throw one more out here. And I know this is not your guys' actual perspective because you are folks who work in games, and often this perspective is something that's more invented by we who are on the outside. The rules for this game and the delivery on just wave 1, in many ways, it feels like this game almost aggressively, almost like aggressively has answers for so many base cynicism responses that one could have to it, my own included, even right down to, it is difficult to get the super rare characters, and people immediately say, you only get, on ratio, it seems, between 2 to 4 rares per box. And then the game kind of goes like, yes, that's correct. Of the character cards, you're also getting 30 rare battle cards. It's astonishing how on ratio, it seems there are lots of battle card play sets being pulled from booster boxes. It's like, just on the blind pack aspect of things, on the gameplay rules side of things, like, every potential artificial limitation for narrative isn't there, because this game wants to be a good game first and foremost. Like I said, it's still young. This is me coming off of month 1, but yes, I just wanted to do that little blurb at you. It's been a lot of fun getting to really care about a Transformers product that isn't the toys and the various storytelling medias.
I love those words, man. That's that, and I will pass that along to all the people who worked on it.
Yeah, it's we're having this thing with the Bumblebee movie coming up as well. From all the stuff we've seen, there are a lot of Transformers things. There are a lot of good ones, but there's also a lot where we as fans kind of take them as like, well, this is the thing that makes the money, so we get more of the stuff we like. And
right.
And yeah, it's really cool to actually genuinely like a Transformers thing that's outside of the usual purview of the franchise. So, yes, please keep it up. Please keep making these cards. And, that's all I got. This just goes into me yelling about Canada some more, and John's heard plenty of that.
All right. Well, then, until the next time I'm on your show, guys, it has been an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks.
Likewise. We'll talk to you later.
What the fuck's going on down there?